Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the ET Telecom Taipa Digital Roundtable. I think what we have seen are the unprecedented times over the last 8 weeks. The only thing which has kept us connected is the telecom infrastructure. The 1.3 billion Indians have been connected as a result of this robust and resilient telecom infrastructure, which has entailed over
connected है नहीं?
over million people working relentlessly to provide that connectivity. Uh, so that is what has really kept us connected. Over the next 1 hour, what we will debate and discuss is how these different stakeholders have come together, how the networks have been more robust and resilient, how the policymakers, the regulators, and the infrastructure service providers have to come together to address some of the new normals, which is really working from home for continued 50% of our workforce. That is going to be the new normal. I don't think we'll get back to the old pre-March to 2020 situation in the next at least the next 18 months. We have a set of eminent panelists with us. Let me introduce them who are going to talk through over the next 1 hour. Shri Ram Sevak Sharma ji, Chairman, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. Mr. Hari Ranjan Rao, Joint Secretary, Department of Telecommunications. Mr. Hansraj Verma, Additional Chief Secretary, Department of IT, Tamil Nadu. Mr. Akhil Gupta, Chairman, Bharti Infratel. Mr. Tilak Raj Dua, Director General Taipa, and Mr. Anand Agarwal, Group CEO of Sterlite Technologies. And I'm Prashant Singhal, the moderator for this session. I'm the Telecom, Media and Technology leader for emerging markets for Ernst & Young. I think before I move forward, I think we've seen a huge data surge, almost 70 to 80% in some of the developed markets, and 30-35% in India, which is where the networks have been able to service that augment technology. My first question, therefore, goes to Shri Dua. Dua ji, how have the stakeholders, all the stakeholders, which is yourselves, the infrastructure service providers, regulators, government, come together, worked in at sync over the last 8-10 weeks to make this possible? And how has really the network been augmented? I mean, I think we are all together, we're all hearing all this, and multiple people are joining it because of the network quality and the uninterrupted services. So how has that all happened? Can you just throw some light? I think it's been a stellar performance. Can you throw some light on it?
See, the post announcement of the lockdown 1.0, we definitely had to enter into a new era, which is now you can name as a big reboot. Then the 3R comes: is a renew, review, restructure. These are the 3 R's we need to do that. The COVID-19, whatever people can call this an unprecedented crisis, I think brought many other new opportunities. One of them is going digital has become imperative. The new working style, that is the WFH, became a normal, which also helped that there is no way but to change. Now, before we get into this, we had, and we said when this around 21st November, when we had a meeting with the DOT, we say that there is something which is, we have to be ready for this. We brought out in our mind and brought to the team certain challenges, which were like the diesel availability in the states, electricity availability into the 24/7, continued movement of the goods and services, which is important, smooth movement of the personnel, security of the telecom asset, which is there. Then also parallelly, we worked with the enforcement agencies so as to avoid any manhandling of this. With all that, certain submissions were made. We approached DOT. I would like to say here the excellent coordination which happened between telecom service provider, infrastructure providers, complete ecosystem, DOT and TRAI. When we approached DOT issued certain submission where their passes, which was important to do that, the passes for the movement of these people should be valid. Interstate movement, because sometimes interstate movement became a problem. So that passes were in, then alignment of the state policies, then uninterrupted EB supplied and continuous supplies of the diesel. And there were certain pending permissions which are there. We also approached the DOT. DOT made an excellent with what they did. They appointed a nodal officer in each of the state, which is what is the LSA head was there, who was a link between the state and our DOT to ensure all these number of passes available, no manhandling, electricity supply, etc. were there. Therefore, DOT played its role. And the sector regulator, the regulator on its own made a lot of contribution on this by coming out with the various guidelines of number one is the enhancement of scope. Number two, also gave a lot of relaxation to all the TSPs, etc., so that they could delay the submission of the report, they delay the other reports, so that the manpower which is involved into this can also be utilized for doing this. So therefore, the nutshell, the support which was extended with all the elements, that is, I would say, network providers, IP providers, and the sector regulator and the DOT was telecom was exempted from the lockdown. The enforcement agencies were online. Passes were issued well in time. Appointment of the nodal officers were also made in.
Dua, sorry, this is this is about telecom infrastructure, and maybe he's just facing some challenge. But let me just move on to Mr. Anand Agarwal. I think it's hard to believe that the lockdown doesn't have an impact on the infrastructure sector. Obviously, the production would have stopped. Some of the rollouts would have stopped. So how do you see, what is, in your view, the impact of the lockdown on the telecom infrastructure sector, as well as how do you see that the infrastructure expansion roadmap will evolve in the future, considering that we are going to see a lot of this work from home. The networks will need to be upgraded immediately. As I said, data capacities are just going up. So over to you, Mr. Agarwal.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Prashant. So what we saw, all of us saw with the lockdown, few of the shifts started happening. Clearly, we saw enterprises, government, as well as individuals moving on to the digital platform, both through transact and, as you said earlier, to connect with each other as well. And the big shift, what we saw, came actually from the enterprise moving to the digital platform, with working from home as well as working on cloud, with all these applications moving on cloud, as well as a large collaboration, the video-based collaboration on the digital platform happened. So this meant that for data networks, for the data infrastructure, few changes happened due to that. One we saw was the fact that there was a very high increase in high bandwidth traffic, which was earlier not there. This increase in high bandwidth traffic also was symmetric. Both upstream and downstream videos, both upstream and downstream requirements became of similar quality. Also, this required the network to be extremely fast response in terms of low latency, especially when you are doing collaboration over the network. You are you're working on cloud-based tools. This required pretty low latency, the network to respond fast. And the other aspect which happened was the load shifted to the different part of the network. While the load in the network might have been in a particular physical geography, with the lockdown, the load shifted to a different part of the network. So as you said, as Duaji said, the industry has done a marvelous job, amazing job in terms of making sure that all of us continue to be connected while we are almost now 50 days of being under lockdown. With such high workloads, the network has not broken down in India or globally. But at the same time, what we saw was that there is an average reduction in network speed, the kind of stuff that we are even seeing in this discussion. as well as there is a focus, all the streaming services at a global level, whether it's Netflix, whether it's YouTube, they have reduced the overall quality. So what we are seeing all over the world and also in India, the demand for high quality, low latency network is still much more than the current supply levels. We are able to currently manage because we have reduced the overall demand by reducing some of the applications which require much more bandwidth. And as you said, a large part of this shift is now becoming the shift towards moving towards digital platform is becoming permanent as well as irreversible. We heard yesterday from Twitter saying that work from home is permanent for all their employees globally. We heard a few days ago from TCS mentioning that 75% of their employees in the next 5 years will work from home. Because this forced shift to work from home and work on cloud has also enabled people to unearth the increased efficiency that they are seeing from people who can and who can continue to work from home. And we have seen this has led to globally multiple telcos around the world accelerating their capex plans to strengthen their digital networks. And what has happened, what we see also that globally, most countries of India's size, as well as the growth aspiration that the country aspires to, they spend at least 1% of their GDP on digital infrastructure, which at the current level translates to about almost $25 billion, or close to about 1.5 lakh crores or so. Even at 0.5% of current GDP, India now, with the shift that we are moving for the digital infra, now needs to really start thinking about how India should spend at least 1 lakh crores annually on the digital infra. If you see this in light of the current plans with the finance minister came out during the budget, the current plan is to spend about 60,000 crores annually. And bulk of that is being spent by the public sector. In contrast, if I see 60,000 crores on the digital infra, India spends almost 2.5 lakh crores annually on roads and railways. And we now need to start thinking of a parity on the two infrastructure. The digital infrastructure has to be started to be thought in similar way as we start seeing physical infrastructure for transport of goods and services. This is transport of data and information, and they must complement, and the thought process at least must be started to think in the same order and same lines. So I think the shift to 1 lakh crores spent annually as a first step must be something towards digital infra in a combined manner by government, by telecom companies, as well as the infrastructure companies. Together should happen. And we ought to prioritize 5 key areas towards this spend. One is the tower backhaul, strengthening the capacity. Second one is fiber to the home and enterprise. The third one is capacity in rural India. So that what is happening, work from home, can we start thinking of work from rural India as well? Fourth one is edge data centers. And then fifth one is increasing the sectoral participation of IP1 players to start playing a more active role in creating infrastructure. So those are some of the thoughts that I had, Prashant.
No, that's great, Anand. Thank you very much. And I want to draw now Mr. Gupta into this because you talked about acceleration of digital infrastructure. You talked about the investments which are required. So Akhil, what really needs to be done as you've been doing this for a long time between the telecom infrastructure service providers, the regulator, the policy makers. How can we really accelerate this entire deployment and infrastructure, which is our immediate need, and how do you really keep the entire population connected? Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Prashant. I think there is now not near unanimity, but absolute unanimity that telecom has been the lifeline, not only in normal time, but particularly in emergencies like COVID. And there will always be emergencies. The work-life way of working will change. I have three very specific suggestions because obviously the telecom infrastructure has got to improve drastically if we want this new reality to be very productive. The first is, as TR mentioned, I think DOT and TRI have been such huge supporters when it comes to forming the guidelines and the laws with the states for giving right of way and the other things involving physical infrastructure layout. I think they have done a tremendous job without a doubt. But what I would request Mr. Rao is that perhaps time is ripe for DOT at the secretary level to have one more video conference with all the secretaries, just emphasizing because I know still I discussed with Mr. Dua and other members of TAIPA, there are still states which keep on harping on very high rates. They have got very procedural problems. I think one more push towards easing the rollouts of the infrastructure at reasonable cost is what is needed. I am sure with the unanimity and consensus in approach, this would happen. The second suggestion which I have is that once we know that work from home or work remotely, I wouldn't say necessarily home, but even when we are in the offices, most of the work will have to be done remotely. I think this clearly needs high speed internet, broadband. Now, very clearly, the best way to do that is wireline. But we all know that the last mile connectivity on wireline, the fiber to the home, in a very widespread manner is just not possible, neither in terms of timelines that this country needs, nor in terms of economics, whether it's the capex or whether it's the ability for the customer to pay on a monthly basis. Therefore, the only solution is high speed wireless broadband. Now, as we know, there are major constraints and capacities on 4G for the mobile networks only. So, my suggestion is that the three concerned entities, that is the Government of India, the telecom operators, and the IP providers represented as members of TAIPA, will need to come together. And let me lay out what I feel can be done by each. The first one is I feel government today should provide the necessary and the requisite bandwidth under 5G under 3500 megahertz to the four service providers free of cost. Now, technically, I am not yet sure whether for a non-ubiquitous network, because this I'm talking of fixed wireless at homes and at workplaces, but not necessarily a mobile network to begin with. Whether 50 megahertz will be needed or 100, I think we can have some technical discussions. But whatever is the minimum bandwidth required to give high-speed connectivity to enable people to work from home should be given free of cost. So the second is, of course, the role of telcos. They need to, in lieu of this free spectrum, commit, and we can find ways how legally they have to commit investment into this 5G infrastructure and with a clear-cut rollout to ensure that the coverage becomes, widespread as soon as possible. And the third is the IP ones. I think IP ones, and I can tell you on behalf of all IP ones, we are absolutely ready with resources, manpower, and the will to invest in the outdoor units and the Wi-Fi infrastructure for indoors, which will be absolutely necessary if we want seamless connectivity. Now, naturally, the advantages are we have been talking of India taking a lead on 5G, or at least being with the rest of the world on 5G. By doing this, we straight away get into the mainstream of 5G. We all know that the National Digital Communication Policy talks of that the aim of the government is broadband and is not necessarily maximization of revenue. I think this would be a wonderful step as we talk of 10% of GDP as part of the stimulus to say that we are doing something which is walking the talk and making sure that the country gets connected digitally all around. And I think even in terms of revenue, the government will get much more revenue in this process because I don't think 5G otherwise, with the current kind of prices on the mobile networks, is coming for quite some time. The final point I want to make as a request to Mr. Sharma as the chairman TRAI, none of this will be possible unless telecom industry and telecom operators are financially healthy. My request to him would be, he has started a consultation on the minimum floor price for telcos, because we have seen with whatever we have done, some of we as telcos have never been able to maintain the tariff discipline. I think personally that is an extremely important step, because any of these good intentions will fall if industry is not healthy. I read the other day that while the other consultations will happen on a virtual basis, this was being put on hold. My request is, sir, please accelerate it, please bring it in, because a healthy, financially healthy telecom industry will enable this country to get digitally connected. Absolutely. If not, whatever be the best intentions, things will fail. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I think that's well said. I think we need to get financial health of the sector back. But I think just one of the points that you picked up, and I would like to draw on Mr. Hansraj Verma ji, and especially on the ROW, that what has really Tamil Nadu done differently to boost telecom infrastructure, and how have they addressed the ROW issues? So, sir, would you like to share some of differentiating practices? We did discuss one of the issues which was raised was about the states not or states not fully cooperating, or so maybe Tamil Nadu can create a good example for the other states to follow. So, would you like to go?
Right from the lockdown 1.0, the government of Tamil Nadu, direction of Honorable Chief Minister, was very proactive. We were in touch with TAIPA, telecom operators, on a 24/7 basis. Tamil Nadu has got about 8 crore mobile subscribers, and this was a tremendous use during this lockdown. 45,000 towers are there. We ensured that none of these towers become dysfunctional. We were able to have a very clear understanding with TAIPA to ensure that men, material, diesel, whatever they wanted was moved to these towers. Also, we ensured that they were able to get 24/7 power supply also. So with this, we were able to create a platform for the IT and ITS industries in Tamil Nadu. 98% of them were working from home, which meant that they needed enhanced bandwidth also. In the previous session, we had a seminar with this NASCOM, in which the requirement is that now they need, as this work from home is the new normal, we will need corporate grade bandwidth in certain pockets. So we're going to have a meeting with TAIPA operators, telecom operators, and ensure that wherever the requirement is there, as per the requirement of NASCOM, we will provide all the IT and ITS companies where their employees working from home corporate grade bandwidth. So telecom infrastructure has been a great help to Tamil Nadu in ensuring that the industry sustains its competitive edge during these challenging times. As regards the ROW issues, we are in the midst of having our meetings and formulating a very clear state policy with a clear understanding that the future growth of economy of Tamil Nadu is going to be based on the ICT platform, in particular the digital infrastructure platform. We have the highest concentration of MSMEs in India. Tamil Nadu economy is the growth engine for the economy of the nation. If these MSMEs have to be competitive and contribute to the growth of the country, then you have to migrate them to Industry 4.0, for which we need the telecom infrastructure foundation here. So with this kind of things in mind, apart from that, rural livelihoods and rural sustenance, as the economy goes back to the rural areas, we need connectivity at the village level here. We're in the midst of implementing this very prestigious BharatNet project. We're hopeful that by March 31st, 2021, we should be able to have all the 12,500 village panchayats connected on the OFC network. Yes. So with this kind of clarity of thought and strategic vision of the government of Tamil Nadu, led by the Honorable Chief Minister, telecom infrastructure is going to be accorded the topmost priority by the government of Tamil Nadu.
That's brilliant, sir, and I think that's what is paying off as well. Let me just draw on, and we heard a lot of requirements from the industry, or maybe suggestions from the industry about spectrum, free spectrum, or about the infrastructure spend on digital being much lesser than the physical infrastructure, and how do we really enhance that and the requirement of the network. So let me draw on Mr. Hari Ranjan Rao. So if you could respond to some of these requests which have come or some of the points raised. How do we really accelerate, enhance, and grow the infrastructure and network? And specifically, if you want to comment on the spectrum question as well.
So I look forward to this discussion as a good opportunity to look back to what has happened in last these 40-50 days, and allow me to actually say that this is a kind of blessing in disguise for telecom industry and the entire sector. Because when we talk of infrastructure nationally, immediately at the back of the mind, highways and airports and ports, railway come to the mind. But this is for the first time people have realized in this country that telecom infrastructure as a backbone is much more important, if not equal, than any other infrastructure in the times of crisis. And the happy news is that sector as such collectively has been able to live up to the expectations of the nation. I've been keeping track of all kinds of coverage that have been happening in these 50 days, and not one news coverage I saw which was negative about lack of quality of service in telecom infrastructure. There were issues about better requirement of bandwidth, which is understandable, but sudden drop of infrastructure quality or disconnection, etc., did not happen. We have had interaction with the industry regularly in this period. In fact, Telecom Ministry Sanchar Bhavan was perhaps one of the few buildings in Delhi which actually was open and functional all throughout the lockdown period, despite all the risks. And so was the case with our functionaries, whether it was telecom service providers, their field functionaries, or it was infrastructure providers, or it was our own DOT officials, LSAs, who were continuously on the ground trying to take care of the setup and the infrastructure. So on that collective happy note that we as a team can deliver and have been able to come up with expectations in the nation, there are a few points which I want to say on this issue. What we did as a team, one major area for OSPs, which was allowed and which has now become the new normal, as we discussed. So a lot of simplification has been made in their processes, but as we all understand, these are works in progress. If further simplification and ease has to be made, we would be very happy to do that. If you look at the power of telecom as a data management tool, so again something phenomenal that DOT, with the help of all the TSPs and with the support of TRI, of course, we could do a lot of interesting things. For example, we launched something called COVID Sadhan, where mass movement of people trying to violate quarantine, and in the specifically red zones, we could send alerts through SMS to citizens in that area that they should be careful, they should not be moving out. This is only possible through technology. So, and partners are willing to provide tools to the citizen to handle any crisis. This was one good example. Mention here that the requirement for spectrum and more spectrum is needed. Sir is sitting here as TRI chairman, and I think Sir has the last word. The telecom department looks for its guidance, and from we are here to implement many of the TRI recommendations to the best of our ability. Spectrum is one, but I think in more important terms, the time has come for broadband through fixed line. The broadband mission has been set up, and with wonderful TRI recommendations which are on how to deliver broadband quickly, and Vani, which we are now trying to quickly. Now the future of India lies in fiber. Active fiberization of our existing towers. We'll have to come up with schemes. We are working on it so that more and more towers are fiberized. which will put a lot of ease on the backhaul. Then we also need now to increase the tower density. Again, it will require infrastructure investment. Telecom companies are going to make the investment. Government will do whatever it can do. But thirdly, and most importantly, the achievement of this lockdown period, I would say, as blessing in disguise, is that state governments have understood that telecom infrastructure is the key for their survival as well. I hope that the kind of support that TAIPA has been looking forward to from the states, there will be a big push this time. And therefore, when we had set up a call center here in control room in Sanchar Bhavan, immediately whenever there was to be any complaint about any telecom field functionary being harassed by local administrative authorities or not being able to facilitate passes, etc., the phone call from the control room and the state government would immediately make the impact. So I see this as a good opportunity. We have been wanting and interacting with the state governments to simplify their ROW rules. In fact, now cities, the municipal corporations have to understand, perhaps they have understood during this lockdown period, that despite all the challenges of the world, telecom was one area which never posed any challenge to them, but it was a great help to them. So when now our telecom companies, infrastructure companies go to the cities for ROW, I hope there will be a greater sense of responsibility and ownership. And this sense of ownership will collectively benefit the sector significantly. And from Department of Telecom, I want to assure everyone that we will be no stone unturned. We are now going to have one more round of discussion with all the states, keep pursuing with them. And now the responses have certainly changed. As I earlier from total disinterest, now everybody understands that this is very, very critical and important for us to move forward in that direction. And lastly, I would like to say that facilitation to increase speed, spectrum availability, bandwidth enhancement, all the steps that the government has to take, we will continue to work with the industry and under the guidance of TRAI to keep moving the direction. And the DOT is open. We are always ready for suggestions. Especially, I want to make one more mention for and of course, and all these colleagues have continuous contact with the stakeholders. I would jokingly say that in the middle of the night, if Chief Secretary got an email, it was used to be from TAIPA invariably. And jokes apart, that is the kind of commitment that is needed in such times. And I am happy that as a team, we have been able to stand up to the challenges and we'll continue to keep doing so. Thank you very much.
I think what is also really required would be that we need to start addressing the future and the future needs as well. I know that everybody has really come together. That's splendid, and the digital backbone or connectivity has continued in this lockdown situation. Now, let me just go to Sir, Mr. Sharma. So, would you like to just reflect on some of the points which have come to you? So, whether it's about the financial health of the sector, tariff, spectrum, how do we and how do you really see the role of the telecom infrastructure service providers enhancing? Currently, it's just about the whether it's the dark fiber or the telecom towers. Do you see the role enhancing into more on the active equipment as well? So would you like to give us your views?
Sure. Thank you. Can you hear me? Let me first check that, and thereafter we'll proceed.
You're loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, great. So first of all, let me compliment and congratulate the ET and the other sort of organizers who have organized this very, very timely kind of panel discussion on various issues relating to telecom. And of course, great to have my friend Mr. Hansraj Verma and Mr. Hariranjan Rao, and of course Akhil Gupta ji, Anand Agarwal ji, all these people, they are the stalwarts in their own sort of areas, and I think having them in this panel discussion is also a great thing, because major issues kind of have come out. I must also compliment all the telecom service providers, the infrastructure providers, the handset makers, all these internet service providers, every sort of entity involved in this digital infrastructure to have really kept the flag flying high, because I think in these difficult times, the only thing which actually kind of kind of kept our sanity in check, so to say, we were still remaining sane, locked down in our houses. That was because of the fact that we were able to feel connected with the outside world through the telecom infrastructure. I mean, otherwise, imagine such kind of situation 20 years back, and how half of the population would have gone mentally kind of depressed, or all kinds of problems would have happened if this connectivity in these 20 years back. So I think it's a great work which they have done, and both TRAI and Department of Telecom, both of us feel that it's really wonderful work they have done, and I think, like all other frontline warriors which are being praised today, I think the people involved in the telecom infrastructure maintenance and its continuous upkeep, they also need to be actually praised very much. And last meeting we had of the TRAI, we actually passed a formal resolution saying that these guys have done a great work, and therefore we really want to appreciate their work. I think they have little, I mean, they've been appreciated, but they need much more appreciation because they have been in the field. People generally forget that to sort of keep a telecom infrastructure going, people think it's all automatic and it continues to grow, continues to move, and continues to function. But it is not like that. You need, as Hari said, you need diesel for towers, you need all kinds of field functionaries going there in the field and maintaining and fine-tuning the network. It requires a huge efforts to make the network going. So I think it has proved it's real. They have done an excellent work. Again, talking of a post-pandemic world, or a situation which is going to obtain now, many things have happened in this past 50-40 days, where we have realized the importance of the telecom infrastructure, B, the fact that many things which we thought were a little inconvenient or a little difficult to do, we realized that they were not really so difficult to do. For example, work from home was, we thought that what is the point of having these virtual meetings and video conferencing? Of course, in the states, we used to do much more with the district collectors and other functionaries, but typically here in Government of India, we will have physical meetings, going from one place to another place. So we thought that the virtual meetings will not be as productive or as good or as spontaneous as the physical meetings are. But I think that myth has been broken. And we now find that they are not only convenient, they are also a great time saver. They are also better in many senses. Of course, there is one side effect. When you work from home, you also have to work at home, because your wife, spouse thinks कि भाई ये क्या कर रहे हो, आपके पास तो कोई काम नहीं है, तो why don't you clean some utensils also? So that's a side effect, but that's only that's something, because then now your spouse realizes that you are not really doing much work except going to another meeting, from one meeting or fixing another meeting. These meetings is the only thing which you do. So therefore, your value goes down. Nevertheless, I think overall situation, you are able to contribute at your home also. So it's a good thing to happen. I also feel that going ahead, there are many areas where we are going to see the use of the telecom sort of infrastructure or connectivity much more. And some of the areas which come to my mind are, one is, of course, work from home. Another is a very important area is healthcare and telemedicine specifically. That area is, we have been talking of telemedicine since last 20-30 years, and those of us who have been in this space, we have been, saying that we are doing telemedicine. But effectively speaking, there is not a very scalable model which has happened thus far. And we have not been able to aggregate, we have not been able to create a UPI of telemedicine in some sense. So this is something which we will probably need to create now. E-commerce and retail side is going to be very high. Then, of course, educational institutions are going to use the connectivity infrastructure much more. Nowadays, of course, many schools have started the classes from home. So that's going to happen. Governance is going to see a lot, of the use of ICT. Banking and payments, already we are seeing a huge improvement or huge numbers. The UPI is having 1.25 billion transactions worth about 2 lakh crores, about $30 billion per month. Similarly, court proceedings are also going to go online. Enterprises are going to use it for manufacturing, sports and entertainment. Now you are, talking of situations where they'll be playing in the empty courts and, they'll all be telecast. So these are some of the things which are going to happen. All these things are going to put an extremely, high expectation from the telecommunication industry. And that industry, when I say, I don't say even TSP alone, I say infrastructure providers, virtual network operators, and broadband, ISPs, all the ecosystem partners. The world is going to have much more sort of expectation from them that their contribution is going to be very, very significant. And as Hari very clearly, says, and I completely endorse his view, is that in this lockdown period, the states have themselves realized, because what has happened is, I have always said that the right-of-way policy really did not take off in a very significant manner. The reason is that, unfortunately, telecom, because it's a central subject, and we don't have a department of telecom at the state level because of that reason. Typically, we don't have a line of an established institutional line of communication between the central government and the state government. Now, of course, IT department of the state governments are the one with which we are communicating. So what is happening is that somehow states feel that the right of way, etc., that is the telecom is a central subject, and therefore let them handle it. And they also see this as a way of earning some revenue in the short run. But they don't realize that this is a very short-sighted view of the situation. We need to have, the more robust infrastructure they will have, the better, it will be for their economic development, for their people. And therefore, I think what is important is that for them to realize that, we should give right of way, and we should see this as an opportunity for expansion of digital infrastructure in their states. But that had changed during this period. During this period, as our friend Hansraj Verma said, that states also have realized that giving right of way to to the telecom players and to the broadband providers is actually an investment in the future of our state, similar to the investment in infrastructure, physical, other infrastructure. Digital infrastructure investment is also extremely important. So that is a very, very positive thing which has happened, and I hope this will be utilized by the industry, and this will also be further taken up by both the Department of Telecom here, and I'm sure under Hari's leadership, under the Telecom Secretary's leadership, things will move much faster now on the right of way part, and that will promote investment. So that is another area which I think is going to happen, and we should sort of use that opportunity. And ultimately, all this infrastructure, if we are not able to provide a robust sort of connectivity, then also it is not going to help us. And one of the ways, as you all know, 93% of our data comes from the mobile, wireless mobile network. And I agree with Akhil Gupta ji that we need to, do certain things in order to ensure that the wireless connectivity also becomes much more robust than what it is today. I agree with him. But at the same time, it is also important that we need to have a fixed line connectivity. We have to give that much importance to the fixed line connectivity. just by thinking that fixed line connectivity is very difficult, very costly, very, bureaucratic in terms of getting ROW, therefore we should abandon it. That's not really the fact. And I have been a votary, and I have been saying that since last 5 years that I have been more or less here in the TRAI, and before that also in the DIT, that we need to see how we can establish better connectivity, and we should not be really concerned as to who does it. That's not important. So I think the cable television homes, which are about 100 million today, these homes and they have solved that right of way problem. It is they may not have solved it in a very formal way of getting right of way permission and digging fiber and putting that fiber inside the earth. They might have done it through going to somebody's roof or some tree or something like that. But they have solved that problem. And along the way, if you count not 100 million, along the way also they go through some shopping establishment, they go through some other parts. Then those, if you count, the number will be 150 million. And 150 million will serve 750 million people. And this is a wired connectivity. And with a little bit of investment, changing the coaxial cable to a fiber, this can really make a huge difference. You could probably, connectivity index will zoom very, very high, because now you will be able to provide connectivity to 700 million people, or about 50% of your, people, fixed line connectivity. And I think we must use that. And we had recommended way back about 5 years back to DOT, and I have been kept on, sort of making this point all the time, that if we want to promote fixed infrastructure, we must make it, free from the taxes. In any case, we are already getting this AGR on the bandwidth sold to these players, ISPs or other things, so that and that AGR is a pass through, and therefore there's a very good case, at least in these times, to actually exempt these guys from the AGR requirements and allow them to provide the bandwidth to the households in the country. This is so much required. And actually, once that happens, then maybe there will be a play in the market. Similarly, we have also made recommendations relating to an interoperable Wi-Fi kind of network in the country, which will actually do not only provision of bandwidth to people, but it also do a content distribution network type of thing, where you could have at the last point, for example, in the schools, if you have a school Wi-Fi hotspots in a school, the school books could be, sort of part of that small server kept there. And, I think it is important that we sort of do some creative solutions at this time, because please remember, we are very strong in terms of softwares in the sense that we have created a lot of these, platforms which we are, using now. You have Arogya Setu recently done, but all this is going to ride on this infrastructure. And if infrastructure is weak, then things will not happen. We will create a telemedicine platform, but that platform will require huge. But I think the most important issue which has happened is, if we want the investment to flow to the infrastructure, then I think we need to learn to create common infrastructure, which means the service providers should be able to use that infrastructure. And what we have recently recommended to the Department of Telecom to increase the scope of infrastructure provider category 1, as they say, IP1, the kind of activities which we have recommended for them to be allowed includes that they should be able to own, establish, maintain, and run all such infrastructure.
So I think, sir, if you could comment on the financial health as well, and on the
sure, I will comment. Coming back to the specific question which you have asked about the financial health of the telecom sector, we are aware, and I think we have done a number of things. In the past, we have, some players asked us to sort of extend the interconnection kind of fees for another year, which we have done. We have also increased the what is called the international termination charges recently. for telecom. After all, giving more functions to do to the IP1 is also a way of ensuring that the telecom service providers become, there's much less requirement of investment because they can share the infrastructure. So that's also an indirect way of helping the TSPs. So we have been doing things, sort of in our way to help the TSP. With regard to the specific issue which Akhil Gupta ji raised about the floor prices, there are a number of issues there in that particular area, and it's not a straight, thing to happen. And though we have not made up our mind, we have issued a consultation, and then consultation has got the responses. The CCI has opposed it. The Niti Aayog had opposed it. So there are multiple, sort of comments which have come. We will take these comments into account, and we will also have an open house discussion, and we will take a decision. So I'm not saying that we will not take a decision, but to say that you take a decision immediately, that is a little not really appropriate in my view, because we should be given time to consider all the comments, counter comments, international practices, what is happening, and what are the other alternative mechanisms to do that. It's like telecom service providers are saying that because we are very indisciplined guys, and say therefore you tell us to become disciplined. This is a very on the one hand people talk of what is called a very light touch regulation. On the other hand, you are saying that you tell us that how much floor price we should have. So there are issues involved. It's not there are competition issue involved. There are technology issues involved. There are regulatory concerns. So we will take a call, and don't worry, we are not going to sort of toggle it indefinitely. That much I can assure you. With regard to the other areas, we have been kind of very much aware and conscious of the difficulties which the telecom service providers and everybody else in this industry is going through, and we have been trying within our limited scope. Please understand that regulator is not a sort of, he's not the guy who can do everything, but certainly whatever we can do in our little sphere, we are trying to help the industry. We are also, we have taken up the issue relating to GST rates. We have taken up issues with the government on many of these rates also. So those things we continue to do, and we will continue to do so. But let me say one thing, that I am one of those persons who is very optimistic, and I believe that telecom has already become a very, very critical horizontal infrastructure which is going to provide services to every sector. We should add that 5G services will be required because of the new breed of applications and requirements which are going to come. So that will happen, and that also probably we will need to expand the market. And now we are creating situations where more and more players can make investments into the telecom infrastructure. So I think we see a very bright future. These issues, and also I also think that now that the Supreme Court has given its judgment and verdict on the AGR issues, probably there is a need now to kind of reset that button, and reset the clarify the stuff for future, because I think again the same situation probably may need to, we need to become a little more clear. Otherwise the same situation like DMRC getting a demand or GAIL getting a demand of 1.7 lakh crores, etc., will not really have to arise in future. So we need to probably have a relook at that AGR thing also, which I'm sure the Department of Telecom must be looking into, and will I'm sure will consider the situation, because then we need to create an environment which is conducive for investment. We need to create an environment which is not really vague or not very clear. I think with that, I'll conclude here. And again, I want to congratulate all the organizers for organizing this panel discussion. And what comes out of it is essentially the fact that there is going to be a huge requirement and expectations from this industry. And thus far, you have been an excellent sort of player and excellent sort of workers, and all of you guys have done great work. What we need is now to take it forward and to have a much more brighter future for the industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I think we are fairly off the hour. I know there are streams of questions. I won't really go through the questions now. We can try to answer them digitally. But thank you very much to all the panelists. I think there is really a need for the infrastructure to accelerate, to grow. That's a need for the hour, and I think it's good that everybody has really come together to deliver that. What we really need is the path now to accelerate this, and that's a realization with sir from TRAI as well as DOT, and everybody's working together with the private sector to make it happen. So let's all hope that we see a much faster and accelerated infrastructure. We see a better, healthy telecom sector, and we see connectivity which is much more smoother and seamless. So thank you again, and it was a great session. Thank you all the panelists.